right, this is Pops, and I want to talk about Winter World. Yeah, this is kind of like a hidden gem in the comic book world. Good luck. This is a really hard one to find. It's been out of print. It's from 1987. Chuck Dixon did this with Jorge Zaffino, the late Jorge. Just an amazing piece of work. I hadn't seen this. I mean, I haven't seen this in forever. And I was listening to something that Chuck was talking about, and he mentioned this, and he mentioned Jorge's art. And I'm like, yeah, let me pull that up and show people. The story is actually very rudimentary. It's basically just a bleak future where everything is covered in ice. He's basically this radical anti-hero adventurer who picks up an orphan girl and basically is trying to fight to stay alive. I mean, it's sort of like Last of Us, but imagine just an apocalyptic ice age rather than like the fungal outbreak that devastates society. It's just one of these stories. I think that if you can find a copy of it or read it digitally, I think you would really enjoy it for the art, if nothing else. This is old school storytelling, right? You can see some of the artwork. Look at this. This is Geraldo's tribute photo. They did like a reprint thing, I think, in 2009. So this is a tank, and there is more detail on the tank than there are in most modern comic books. Just so we're completely clear, I look at this tank and I'm just blown away at how much detail is there. Rivets and gears and moving parts constantly. The background modes and details and different characters. Now, I will say this for what they're going for with this post-apocalyptic world is sometimes the characters do not have a lot of facial features, but that's by design because of the society that they're in and how they look. But when it comes to our main characters and things like that, you really do come to be cheering and rooting for them with all the things that are going on. It's really, really a fun adventure. It's brutal. And of course, there's the Killer Badger. How can you not be cheering for the Killer Badger? I love the Killer Badger. He's freaking great. Rah Rah is amazing. I love Rah Rah. Have this now because he's injured and she basically saves him. So it doesn't sound like a spin-off of Last of Us. I don't know what is. So basically that is, orphan girl. She loves the Raw. So they have like a pet badger. So other than that, a lot of it's pretty similar. She takes care of him, and they're basically cruising around in their tank, and it's kind of like just survivalist stuff. It turns sideways. I will admit that there's story elements that kind of move forward, but then they don't really move forward. They move backwards. So I don't always care about the direction that Chuck took the story. But I will say that he creates a world that I do really enjoy immersing myself in of what I've seen and kind of what's going on. So in this place, I was just like, this is a farm basically, and it's one of the old domes. I think they're in Texas, and it's like I think it's the Houston Dome basically. But there are malls. There's a scene with a mall, and they're talking about how they're commandeering stuff at the mall and things like that. Again, this is 1987. Think about how many of these sort of tropes and ideas are used regularly from, Walking Dead to Last of Us. I mean, just and everything in between. It's Twisted Metal is another one that came to mind. So it's just kind of all of that. Then they kind of have this subversive what life is inside the farm and how they have basically servants and slaves, and this is who's the leaders and what they're like, and how torture goes. Very graphic, very intense, and of course things. The timeline here is here's a baseball inside of that field, the ballpark where they grow food and stuff because they can actually control the climate. Really an interesting story. It's again, I called it a hidden gem for a reason because it's just one of these things I don't think most people have even heard of, let alone actually have seen or own and things like that. But if you're really into that type of art, that detail, those kinds of things, I think something you'd really enjoy. And again, this is not some complicated story or it's not definitely not superheroes, capes and tights. It's more like a post-apocalyptic survivalist type stories and things like that. So we thought I'd throw that out there for you guys. If you've seen it or want to see it, let me know. Love to hear from you. Love to see more recommendations. I want to do some catch-up videos on some comics like this. Hope you're enjoying. Take care, everybody. I am Pops.
Yeah. Right? And I'm not playing.